A brilliant scientist, Stamets was one of, and one half of, the most unique characters in Star Trek history. As co-creator of, and for the longest time, sole navigator for, the displacement-activated Spore Hub Drive, or Spore Drive for short, he broke distance and speed records long before Tom Paris hit Warp 10. Alongside husband Hugh, Stamets broke several more barriers across the 5 seasons for LGBTQIA+ representation in Trek, by being there and being open, and later by being with his newly extended family. Markedly abrasive, if not downright rude, at the start, Stamets has also mellowed out quite significantly by Star Trek Discovery's end. In the far future, Stamets found a new purpose as adoptive father and mentor, and as a critical component, pretty literally as the Spore Drive's plug and play, in the rebuilding of the Federation in the 32nd century. Discovery's premature cancellation might have cut his character development a little short, but there's still a good deal left to say about Paul Stamets. I do hope you like mushrooms. With that in mind, I'm Sean Ferrick for TrekCulture, and here are 10 things you didn't know about Paul Stamets. Number 10. Stamets in the sky with fungi. You can take the astro out of mycologist, the stella out of Stella Viatori, but you can't take the fungi from Paul Stamets. Star Trek Discovery's galactic mycelial traveller had down-to-earth, in-the-earth inspirations. The real-life Paul Stamets, a long-time purveyor and mostly self-taught scientist of all things fungal. When spawning Discovery in the first place, creators wanted to inject a bit of science-based sci-fi magic with mushrooms into the show that was destined to bring Star Trek back to the small screen. Series co-creator Brian Fuller, still on staff at the time, already had previous with the fungi guy. Eldon Stamets was the name of a mycelial serial killer in Fuller's So Delicious You Could Almost Eat It TV hit, Hannibal. For permission and pointers in creating the on-screen version of Paul, Discovery producers got in touch with the real Stamets, who just so happens to be quite the Star Trek fan, having built a holiday home on Cortez Island, part of the Discovery Islands off the coast of British Columbia, Canada. The real Stamets also informed producers about the real prototaxites, a giant genus of fungi that went extinct several million years ago, which was then used, with added star traveller Stella Viatori, as the basis for Discovery's Spore Drive. Number 9. Casting Paul. At this stage, we'd normally be thumbing through casting memos with names more numerous than Odo's Most Wanted pad. It appears, however, that there was only ever one name in the running for the role of Paul Stamets. As Captain Janeway once noted, there's an old Earth expression, "Don't call us, we'll call you." Typically intended as a dismissive, Anthony Rapp can claim to have experienced it literally. When the producers of Star Trek Discovery first sought out Rapp for the show, it was for a much smaller role, an offer he accepted without hesitation after receiving a late-night email from his agent. As the actor went on to tell news site Vox in 2017, "I didn't even know there was a new Star Trek. So that made my head explode. I was like, yeah, I'll do anything. I'd love to be a part of this." When it came to casting the happily married, or as can be, mycologist, showrunners were determined to find an out-gay actor for the part. As former Discovery showrunner Aaron Harvitz noted to Vox, "Literally, the second we started thinking about it, thinking, we got an out-gay actor, why not let him carry the torch for the gay community?" Rapp then got a call from his agent simply saying they want to upgrade you and make you a regular, having never had to audition for the part of Stamets. As surprised by the experience as anyone, Rapp commented that, "Truly, as an actor, it was everything I would have dreamed. The fact that it came so unexpectedly feels kind of like a showbiz miracle." Number 8. We're here, we're nerds, get f***ing used to it. Anthony Rapp is very much a nerd, a professional theatre nerd for one, and as the actor told StarTrek.com, he also appreciates a good video game. On a scale of 0 to Elias Tefexis, however, it would be fair to say that Rapp's Star Trek fandom lies somewhere in the middle, or at least it used to. In the same interview for StarTrek.com, Rapp revealed that he had grown up watching reruns of Star Trek the original series after school, gaining a fascination for Spock in particular, but already into acting by the 1990s, Rapp missed Trek's other incarnations the first time round. When he got the part on Discovery, Rapp turned to a superfan friend for advice and began to binge watch from Star Trek The Next Generation onwards. That same friend, Bill, also made it clear to Rapp that there was a hunger in the fandom for this kind of queer representation, and even created watch lists of Trek's watershed queer moments. As a character, Paul Stamets is one of the most satisfyingly nerdy on Discovery, alongside the equally geeky Tilly. Tilly, in her excitement over the science and engineering of the Spore Drive in Choose Your Pain, can also claim the very first F-bomb in Star Trek history, for which no apology is necessary. As Stamets, who gets the second, says moments later, "No, cadet, it is f***ing cool. We're all nerds, and some of us are queer. Get with the effing program." Number 7. Can I change the laws of physics? In amongst the myriad made-up complexities of near-instantaneous travel through the mycelial network and its place in canon, there was one point of confusion over Stamets' job title aboard the Discovery. Was he, or was he not, the chief engineer? Short answer, no. Long answer, also no. A degree of confusion was valid nonetheless. Star Trek has pretty much always had chief engineers, or chiefs of operations, so it wasn't a stretch to think that Stamets was head of engineering. Moreover, in the Season 1 episode Choose Your Pain, when the then Lieutenant Junior Grade Owosekun pulled up Stamets' life sign readings on her console on the bridge, underneath his name could be read Chief Engineer. That might feel like confirmation enough, but it was apparently just a production error. To paraphrase Anthony Rapp in an interview with Trek Movie back in 2017, Stamets was a science officer, not Scotty or O'Brien. That didn't stop him from playing around with one of Montgomery's famous adages. As Stamets said to Michael Burnham in Context is for Kings, at the quantum level, there is no difference between biology and physics and biology. No, physics as biology. Number 6, dental domesticity. The scene at the very end of Choose Your Pain wasn't a first for the toothbrush in Star Trek, but it was a first for the franchise in terms of LGBTQIA+ representation. Through the domesticity of their dental routine, we found out Stamets and Culber were a couple. The importance of such an understated moment cannot be overstated. After all, for queer Star Trek fans, the everyday is already, by definition, not a big deal, but seeing it on screen can be life-changing. In a 2022 interview with Metro Weekly, Anthony Rapp gave his thoughts on the scene and fan reaction to it. We were really conscious of how special that little scene in the bathroom was, because it was subtle and small. We didn't really know if it would have an impact per se, and then when it did air, the impact was resounding and immediate, and that was very, very satisfying. The pair also had to keep their breath extra fresh for another pioneering moment, Trek's first ever male-male gay kiss in Into the Forest I Go. No toothpaste or powder needed either for brushing in the 23rd century, but as Rapp told IndieWire, some sort of sonic pulse or laser thing. You hold it in your mouth and it just kind of cleans your teeth for you. Number 5, Mirror Man. Not bad breath, just pure bad. There was a lingering whiff, a grim presence left in the mirror at the end of Choose Your Pain, a reflection of things to come. Then a hint later revealed the man in the mirror was literally the Mirror Universe man, the Terran Empire alternate Stamets, whom we met properly, well, in the mycelial network anyway, in Vaulting Ambition. If encountering his dastardly duplicate, who had been sending him messages from the network, was a new experience for Prime Stamets, Anthony Rapp had never acted with himself before either, as he revealed in an interview with TrekCulture, calling the process strange, but ultimately very, very satisfying. In order to mark a distinction between the two characters, Rapp focused on how the single-mindedness and manipulative nature of the Mirror Universe might have shaped the personality of the Stamets there. One difference we do know of, and another first for Star Trek, just by saying the word, was that according to Georgiou in The Red Angel, Mirror Stamets was pansexual and may even have had a fling with the former Empire. Speaking of Mirror Men, the Star Trek Discovery Annual 2018, a beta canon comic written by Kirsten Beyer and Mike Johnson, depicts the very first encounter between then Lieutenant Stamets and a certain captain of the Discovery with a condition that means he likes to keep the lights down low. I've also heard that if you stay Stamets 5 times in the mirror, the spirit of all the mushrooms you've ever eaten will appear to exact their fungal revenge. Number 4, Red Angel in America. The fact of the matter is that allegory does not a gay character make, and allegory of homophobia is still homophobia. With radical queer politics and plays all around it in the 1990s and into the 2000s, Star Trek was straight in every sense of the word. All of that changed in Star Trek Discovery, with a small stepping stone in Star Trek Beyond. Although there, you still had to read between the lines. In Season 2, Stamets and Culber were going through a rough patch in their relationship, but that didn't stop them from breaking ground for the LGBTQIA+ community. Well, in my universe, and pretty much any universe I can possibly imagine, I'm gay, and so is he, said Stamets in Discovery's second season episode The Red Angel. In that, Stamets became the first character in all of Star Trek to refer to himself as such, and only the second person to use the word gay, meaning homosexual or even otherwise, the first being only moments before when Dr. Culber said of Stamets, "You do know he's gay, right? What just happened?" asks a certain ensign at the end of the scene. History, Tilly. History just happened. Number 3, Beatles to Laboom. For Stamets, the fungi of the earlier nod to the Beatles on this list didn't always translate into the pun of its homophone fungi. In the beginning, Stamets was a particularly challenging character. Whilst not a conventional scientist, he was certainly more buttoned up than the Fab Four's early attire. As Anthony Rapp put it to StarTrek.com in 2020, he's a passionate scientist who cares deeply about his work and his integrity. Then he is conscripted into a war effort, so he chafes at that, and has really high standards, which makes him short with people. When we first met Stamets in Context is for Kings, that shortness was on full display via another reference to the Beatles. My Uncle Everett plays in a Beatles cover band. It hardly makes him John Lennon, Stamets says rudely to Burnham, concluding the rest of the ill-mannered exchange with the equally impolite, "Go somewhere else, please." His bad mood wasn't without reason, however. If tone is set from the top, then it was mirror evil all the way down for Season 1, and the Klingon War from just above. Stamets began to loosen up over the years, to the extent that he even joked about his pre-tardigrade DNA surliness in the 5th season episode Face the Strange. Bohemian was beside the point, but there was the promise to Culber of a performance of Laboom at Cassilian Opera House on a moon near Starbase 46 in Into the Forest I Go. Laboom is the Puccini opera which inspired the musical Rent, for which Anthony Rapp originated the role of Mark Cohen, and Wilson Cruz later played Angel. Number 2. Mushrooms first, coffee later. It was during the muddest of time loops in Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad that we learnt about Stamets' first encounter with his future husband at a cafe on Alpha Centauri. Burnham hit the Cassilian high note on the head when she replied, "But after such a rude exchange, why would he do that?" Good point. Telling a stranger to can it with the humming is not typically a prelude to romance. In the Star Trek Discovery Annual 2018, it has afforded to us a lot more detail both on the history of Paul and Hugh's relationship and on the beginnings of the spore drive. In it, we first meet pre-Starfleet recruited Doctors Stamets and Strahl as they uncover some pretty stellar properties of proto-taxites Stella Viatori during their terraforming work on the planet Deneva. 2 years later, in the comic, the duo present their research on instant matter transfer across unlimited cosmic distances via the mycelial network in front of their decidedly and understandably incredulous peers at the Federation Research Council on Alpha Centauri. Starfleet is more convinced, however, and after several more months of research with human test subjects, including Stamets himself, Stamets and Strahl are given 2 experimental ships, one of which we spent 5 seasons with, of course. As for the coffee first date in the annual, Stamets is seemingly on the much harder stuff after that disappointing research presentation. He does tell Culber that he hates the humming, but the latter calls him rude and walks away. The pair bump into each other, however, before leaving Alpha Centauri, and the rest is almost 1,000 years of history. Number 1. Twist at the end. Star Trek has always relied on pushing the boundaries of credibility and possibility when it comes to science and technology, but the introduction of the spore drive in the first place, along with the very idea of an astro-mycologist, was jumping the shark for some fans. That's not to mention the use and abuse of the tardigrade, and the continuity issues, which were not even entirely resolved by the trip to the 32nd century, even after it was covered up harder than a holiday on Romulus for Luther Sloan. Still, as time went on, we grew accustomed as much to Stamets as to his enchanted and entangled mushrooms, and to those black alerts. Star Trek Discovery's 5th season began for Stamets with the news that the Federation was abandoning the spore drive program in favor of the pathway drive. Somewhat robbed of his legacy, Stamets found new meaning in the search for the progenitor's technology. When that was also taken away from him at the end of the season, it left the character in a state of scientific limbo, a theme no doubt destined to be explored in parallel with his husband's more spiritual journey in the 6th season that will now never be. Looking back, however, Stamets has certainly left an imprint, alongside Culber, Adira and Gray. On the show's legacy as it came to an end, Anthony Rapp told via the nightly newspaper, "The fact that we got to be the ones to finally break down that barrier, to have proudly, openly queer characters that are fully themselves, is a huge mark of pride for us." That final spin at the end of life itself also reminds that all of Discovery, and whatever you think of the spore drive, was only made possible thanks to the work of Stamets and deceased friend on the USS Glenn. Not without one more Beatles reference, there's one thing we've learned recently from the Star Trek containing universe of another franchise: there's always a twist at the end. Star Trek Starfleet Academy is about to start filming, and we've already had tenure for Tilly. There's still plenty of room for a surprise or two, and Paul Stamets, Professor of Astromycology, could be precisely what we weren't expecting. Thank you very much for watching along, folks, and thank you so much to Jack Kiley, who wrote the article upon which this is based. You can find that over on whatculture.com. I have been Sean Ferrick for TrekCulture. You can find me at Sean Ferrick on the various socials, and you can also find TrekCulture on the various socials as well. Please make sure that you are subscribed and following along. You are awesome, you are wonderful, and whatever you do until I see you again, look after yourself, have a very happy Pride Month, and you are very loved, and you are very, very important. Live long and prosper, everyone. Thank you so much.